Healthy at the moment. You're looking across the shields, and they're looking pretty healthy as far as meds are concerned as well. So TSM feeling pretty comfortable, and they also have those KP on the board. Remember, gold triple take in the hands is always going to be very deadly as well. As you can see, Liquid look like they're hunting out some prey who are trying to rotate late on the edge of circle.
This is what Liquid have been waiting for this whole time. They set up early, they set on the edge, they were waiting for teams to actually join them, and finally the prey has arrived. But are they going to be actually able to take down these kills, get this KP on the board? You can see how aggressive they're being. They want to get this free KP. They know other teams will also be looking to do the same. They're doing some real damage at the moment, but they managed to get one down. Can they find the rest of the team?
Yeah, the question is, who is the other team who are shooting from the other angle? Because I saw Complexity pop up in the kill feed, and I think the Liquid are a little bit wary of the fact that that might have been Complexity. Speaking of which, surprise, surprise, look at that. Complexity are that team who are on the other side just patrolling the edge of circle, and a scary, scary thing to run into is a Cole tag if you see them in front of you. Speaking of which, it'll be Rakanishi who'll be taking down the last player alive that we saw just a few moments ago. And that'll be another KP on the board here for Liquid. Complexity, though, looking to put the pressure on now. Hemlock in the hands of Reptar. Of course, Complexity kind of feigned and introduced his Bloodhound meta and really have been able to put it to use fantastically well. But one thing that always impresses me about Complexity, we always talk about their aggression, how they love to take fights, etc. They're just as smart at knowing when the fight isn't good, when they don't have the advantage and choosing not to push.
Yeah, and it's about having that knowledge, right? And it's the same, I would say, for TSM, who also look like they're in a little bit of a scuffle at the moment. TSM were always one of those teams who knew where to be in the right place at the right time. It's a big, big damage coming out of Reps. Absolutely huge from him, and he'll get the revive. TSM will survive. New kill leader, can take those fights. You can see already 8 KP on the board. Unfortunately, the third party probably came in there. They found themselves a little bit vulnerable, but at least Reps has been able to get away now. Hopefully he can rat out a little bit, maybe get a beacon back, and maybe he can get some placement points alongside the insane amount of KP they've already picked up this game.
So Euresis Daycare in a fight here on Market, and the team on top is Sentinels. Now Sentinels, one of those teams who I think are always on the precipice, right? They're always on the edge of being in that first place conversation, before tournaments start. However, always just come up a little bit short, and I just feel like they've got a tournament to win here, potentially. If they win that tournament, we always talk about them going forward as being a #1 team. But as I say, still waiting for that elusive tournament win here. But with Retzi back on the lineup, back on the Wraith, I really do feel like this is a powerhouse lineup. It's kind of a sleeping giant, right? With the Xenox and Retzi coming back together recently. With the addition of Crust, of course. A lot of talent on this lineup as Reps now desperately trying to stay alive, trying to get his interception pylon down to avoid that grenade. Going to have to dodge and dive, but TSM eliminated.
It was just one of those things where I couldn't get the pylon down because just nowhere to put it, unfortunately. So a lot of kills from TSM. They had, like, what, 8 KP. But unfortunately, in terms of placement points, only going to be the 1. So they're going to finish on 9 points, which isn't bad for the first game. But certainly, I'm sure they know they could have done a little bit better if they had got further into this game. As Solidified also in a little bit of trouble. Just a nice, friendly portal to make sure they can get that one up and pick up the revive. Not necessarily an aggressive kidnap that we've seen so much, but instead you can use it to actually, you can help you. What is a friendly kidnap though? It's not really a kidnap, is it?
That's a cuddle nap. That's what we call that from now on when you portal out your teammate. But Solifide doing what they could do in that situation to make sure that they stay up at a full complement, but only for a few moments here because Muffins is coming under all sorts of fire from a couple of players. Gets the thermite down, has to jump back into the friendly portal. But the question is, will it be friendly enough for him to survive as he tries to pop that Phoenix kit? Around 6 seconds left up till he is back to full health.
It's probably just a rescue mission, but Cuddlenap has a certain ring to it. Does get the Phoenix kit off, and now he will retreat, but he did see another player going into that building, so instead of going inside, he jumps straight to the top, and he knows full well he has to get out of dodge here. Still 13 squads remaining, so he needs to get into the top 10 if he wants to pick up an extra placement point, but it doesn't look like he's going to get very far. Indeed, gets taken out of the sky as he's zipping up, and they'll finish in 13th, so just the 1 placement point for them. But now we start to see the teams get closer and closer as round 4. That circle is closing, and that circle is getting very small indeed.
Yeah, you can see it pulling to the south side of Salvage as well. So Seems like Sentinel's going to have to fight their way through the lobby here to try and find themselves a safe spot inside. Fifth circle, the portal's going to go down here, so they'll have a way to get a little bit closer to it. However, obviously there's going to be teams in front of them, as you can see from those fences down. But it looks like Sentinel's happy to maybe look to take a fight here. They're going to have to do so. Portal in front of them as well would indicate there's going to be a team hanging around this situation. The defensive bombardment going to be using an aggressive way here to try and clear the way for them. You can see a few hits as well as Renzi's actually going to be taken down. However, big hits is going to allow them to maybe pick up a few KP on their way forward.
Nice shots there with the G7 scout, but needs to make sure he tries to get with the teammate. They need to support one another at this time, as we're down to just 9 squads. I think Complexity have lost a couple of players off screen as well, so some big teams losing some big players, and now aggression coming out from NRG here. Jumps in with the Eva rate, and we'll get that finish.
Yeah, NRG looking absolutely phenomenal in this game, number one. Lots of KP on the be able to just about get that portal down and get Team Liquid involved. However, can he pop this medkit just in time? And I think they've actually snuck up behind HRN now. So a great portal here, late from Team Liquid, could put them in a great position for this endgame if they can win this fight.
Yeah, I was saying people would have been watching behind them, but maybe they weren't actually aware that someone was going to come from behind. The Mastiff doesn't connect. One member of Team Liquid has fallen. Casper is slightly weak, but they may have won that engagement, as Dudes Night Out are also having a little bit of a pop-off here. We're down to just 6 squads as people being eliminated moving into this next circle.
Yeah, Gibraltar Bubble's going to go down. I think the Liquid were actually eliminated in that fight. Speaking of being eliminated, Crust gets deleted momentarily there just as the bubble goes down. They're going to have to get that revive, and the gold bag was actually on Crust on the Gibraltar, so he'll be up. Only a slither of health. He's going to have to pop those meds. As speaking of popping, we're going to be seeing the Bloodhound ultimate being popped as shots are going to be ringing in here across Kings Canyon towards this endgame. 3 squads remaining now. One of the Dudes Night Out, one of the teams that Jameson really had his eye on coming into this finals here for the Americas. One of those underdog teams trying to finish off these knocks, trying to thirst those KP. Only 5 seconds left on this ult to try and pop a scan, maybe just to see where those last teams are going to be holding up.
So NRG lost one as well. Sentinel still in this fight, but they're down to just 2, so it's certainly Dudes Night Out in the power position right now with all 3 members, and they've got yet another knock. Nathan falls from NRG, so NRG down to just 1 at this point. And Sentinels, they're just waiting, Mark. They are biding their time, but they're going to have to take a 2 versus 3 fight coming into this final circle.
So there is the final down. Finished, and I think there's just another player from NRG holding up behind those knockdown shields. Trying to survive as long as possible, hoping these 2 other teams are going to engage before he can jump in. It's a 2v3v1, I believe, in this situation. And now it's just a 2v3, and here comes the push coming in from Sentinels towards the endgame. Big shots with the Mastiff for 70 and an 89 as well. However, it's going to be Crust who goes down, and it all falls onto the shoulders now of Senox, the last player alive here for Sentinels.
Yeah, it's a 1 versus 2. He's managed to find one, tries to get the finish onto the other to get maybe the shield swap, but I don't think it's going to work out for them. This is a really tough 2 versus 1 for him, and unfortunately, he's on the low ground. Dudes Night Out, they have the high ground, they have everything. Another shield swap, though. Maybe that can be the saving grace here. Yeah,
big shots with the wingman as well is going to force Alves to recharge his shields. Luckily for him, he has the gold armor, so it's not going to take him too long to do so. So,
if it's a game, I'm losing. Cause I said I'd never do this, and it's so confusing. Cause with you it feels so right. So I don't